Hey, good afternoon, guys. This is Sam, and I'll be doing the free video for March 19th, 2021. So, I just finished making the premium video for the members in the room, and in the premium video, we typically will start looking at the indices first. So, we'll look at things like the SPX, the NASDAQ, the Dow, the Russell. From there, we branch out and we look at the different sectors. And then once we've looked at all the different sectors, then we branch out even further and we start looking at volatility products. We look at currencies. We look at bonds. And we do that in order to kind of get a big picture view, kind of a top down view of the market, and just seeing where there's alignment or where there's not alignment, essentially. So by doing that, you get to see pretty much how everything is connected, and then you get to see whether there's clarity going into the next week or whether there really isn't. Now, I just finished making that video, and I personally, while the indices still have structure and trend going into next week, I didn't see a ton of clarity like we've seen before in the broader markets. Really, they could go in either direction. There is a slight bullish tint to the market still that still has structure. But I'm also seeing a lot of signals slip from being bullish to a little bit more neutral. And when that happens, it can make things a little bit muddy. So in this video, understanding that next week is also typically a bearish week, typically the way that the seasonality of this works is the last 2 weeks of March can be somewhat bearish. And then you go into April, and then that's a bullish month. Pretty much until the middle of May or so, and then June again starts a little bit more bearish. So, March typically ends bearishly, which then kicks off a bullish April, right? So, going into next week, understanding the historical seasonality, as well as the fact that I didn't see a ton of clarity in all the different products that we review in the premium videos. It does shape a little bit as to what I'm going to be looking at next week. It does make me a lot more cautious, and it makes me want to either trade faster. So if you would normally trade, 2, 3, 4 weeks out, maybe trade a little faster, maybe go into day trader mode, or continue trading the swing style 4 weeks out or more, but just trade 1/3 or 1/2 of your position size. And I think that's pretty good advice when you have lack of clarity across the indices. So understanding that going into next week, both we have seasonality that's bearish and we have a little bit of lack of clarity in the indices as they slip from bullish to neutral. I want to look at things that are maybe don't require the indices as much. The things that don't necessarily need the market to go significantly higher to participate, things that can kind of go their own way, or things that have high short interest. And in looking for something like that, we came across Wayfair, right? So Wayfair here, a couple points on Wayfair. You've been trading in this box here, this weekly box. So it's a weekly chart, a daily, and then 195 here are the time frames. And you have this weekly box that you've traded in after being in a very upwards trend going into it. Now, this box has been in place since last August, so roughly about 7 months of trading in this box. One thing that I really like to see, though, is that it went from very strong trend to consolidation that coiled up a weekly squeeze. So you see how the squeeze here had all of this excessive momentum. Once it hits the apex and starts rounding back out to the center line, it goes negative, right? The squeeze histogram is negative, but it stays in a squeeze. You see how it stayed in a squeeze the whole time? And that was a really, really long squeeze. That's, a few months worth of trade. Now it's come out of the other side of the histogram here, and it actually has 3 positive bars to the upside. So essentially, it kind of sets it up for that big breakout on a weekly time frame. One thing that I like to see is that the the high-low oscillator has also gotten above the central line, and the trend oscillator has always been positive, which is generally good. The fact that it didn't, the green line is over the red and they're both above the middle, is generally a very strong sign of persistent trend. If you look at the daily chart here, you see the same thing, right? And that's what we're looking for. We're looking for, ideally, we want all of these time frames to look similar because we want them to show alignment. So here you can see the same thing. You have a low compression squeeze here. The high-low oscillator is above the central line and climbing, which is generally good. And you see the trend oscillator has gotten positive, stayed positive, getting more positive above the center line. Lastly, if we look at the 195, you have a legitimate squeeze here. You have trend-like structure, and your momentum indicators, like we just looked at on the other two time frames, are also aligned. If you look at the structure here, it's also starting to trend, and you can tell it's starting to trend because it's starting to respect the moving averages as dynamic support. So before, it was just trading in a box. It didn't really care about the moving averages, and that's pretty prototypical before it starts to trend. But once it starts to break out, it should show trend properties. So what are some trend properties? Holding the 21. And you see how it held the 21 there on all the closes on the weekly time frame? Not only that, but it's actually holding the 8. So it's showing aggressive trend properties. Normal trend or conservative trend would be the 21. Aggressive trend would be the 8. And this one is showing the latter. Also here on the daily time frame, exact same thing, right? So on Wayfair, the breakout level here is 350. It also has high short interest. So if somebody was short this name, I would imagine they're going to have stops right above 350 because that's the previous high. And then the stronger shorts will have stops above 370 because that is the actual spike high. So I'm looking for a push here up, above, and through 350, and then later above 370 to kind of pop those liquidity pockets, if you will, of shorts and that have their stops there. So I already have a trade in this. We put this on today. Well, we put on one yesterday that was short the 320 puts. Then I put on another one today that's a 380 butterfly, and I made that 30 wide. That's for April expiration. And basically I'm looking for it to get above 350, find support there, stay there as support, and then try to push to that target that you see on the screen right around 384. So center strike 380, 30 points wide, 350, 380, 410, call butterfly, and that's for April expiration on Wayfair. All right, guys, I hope this was helpful. Remember that next week is a little bit historically bearish. And we can continue to see a little bit of a sloppy market unless the bond market decides to kind of calm down a little bit. So play safe, be cautious, put caution number one. Next week is all about thriving via surviving, not necessarily kind of wanting to go all in. And then once we get a clear signal from the indices, then we can get a little bit more aggressive. So hopefully this video was helpful to you guys. Don't forget to leave a like or a dislike. It's all good, either one. Just let us know you are here. Go ahead and click that like button before you leave. Also, make sure that you sign up for notifications, so click the bell. And also, don't forget to subscribe so you can check out more of our content. Feel free to stop by simplertrading.com if you're not already a member. This is what we do every day in that room. We have, in my opinion, the best community of traders on the planet, frankly. And we'd love to have you stop by and check it out. So hopefully we'll see you there. All right, guys, have a great Friday. We'll see you next week. Cheers.
Without Simpler Trading, I could not have financial independence.
This is one of the best investments I ever made in my life.
It's helping me find consistency. It's one of the things that won me